Naruto and Goku are two of the most popular and powerful characters in anime. Although they come from completely different worlds, they have a surprising amount of things in common. Naruto and Goku can both get pretty wild, but they were both originally going to be much more animal-like. Akira Toriyama was inspired to create Dragon Ball by the Chinese novel Journey to the West. It's considered to be one of the 4 great classical novels of Chinese literature, and tells the story of a monkey named Son Wukong. This particular ape is born from a stone and acquires a variety of supernatural powers over the course of his adventures. It's really not hard to see how Goku was influenced by this character, even though he's probably slightly less bright than the average monkey. Originally, Goku was just supposed to be a little monkey boy instead of a super strong alien from outer space. His tail remained as a tribute to Son Wukong, until Toriyama got tired of drawing it, but I'll get to that later. As for Naruto, he started out his manga career as an actual demon fox that just assumed the form of a human boy. Masashi Kishimoto created a one-shot pilot manga featuring Naruto as a ramen-loving demon fox that was published in Akamuru Jump. This story actually went over well with fans, but Kishimoto decided it needed a total overhaul with less foxes and more ninjas. Even though Akira Toriyama and Masashi Kishimoto make creating some of the most iconic characters of all time look easy, it's apparently pretty challenging. Both creators ended up altering certain characteristics in order to make things easier for them to draw as their series progressed. Remember Goku's monkey tail? This was supposed to represent his connection to Son Wukong. But apparently, Toriyama soon realized he had made a Joe Bluth-style huge mistake. Drawing Goku's tail was so annoying that he just cut it off so he wouldn't have to deal with it. Yes, it grew back only to get cut off again, but let's not get into all the inconsistencies involving tails in the Dragon Ball universe, or we'd be here all day. Then there's Naruto, who's known for wearing his iconic headband. But if you look way back in the first episode, you can see that he's wearing a pair of goggles instead of his classic headband. Kishimoto liked the idea of Naruto having a pair of ninja goggles, but apparently they were too hard to draw, so he swapped them out for a headband. One thing Kishimoto does like to draw, though, is toes, which is kind of weird if you think about it. But I'm not here to talk about Kishimoto's love of toes. The interesting thing here is that Naruto was originally going to wear boots, but switched to sandals since he preferred illustrating them. I've already talked about how Goku was inspired by Son Wukong and Journey to the West, and so were many of your other favorite Dragon Ball characters like Bulma and Oolong. But Toriyama also had a number of Western influences that impacted the series we know and love today. Yes, just like so many of us, Toriyama is a Disney fan. Long before he created Goku, he actually won an art contest by drawing a picture of 101 Dalmatians. He was impressed by the high-quality animation, and that was something he tried to incorporate into his own work. As for Naruto, one of Masashi Kishimoto's sources of inspiration was Dragon Ball. Reading the manga was one of the reasons he decided to start drawing manga in the first place. Lots of people have been influenced by Toriyama's work, but Kishimoto got some artistic inspiration from a pretty surprising source: Quentin Tarantino. Yeah, the guy who created movies like Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. Naruto might not have a lot in common with Tarantino's films, but all of the dramatic up-close shots you see in the anime were inspired by his style. Goku might not be the most romantic guy in the world, but somehow he managed to find a wife. Or rather, Chi-Chi found him. Found, coerced into marrying, you know, a tale as old as time. But there was someone else our Saiyan hero could have ended up with. We all know that Akira Toriyama is the creator of Dragon Ball, but if you're a fan, you should also appreciate the hard work of Kazuhiko Torishima. He was Toriyama's editor for his manga Dr. Slump, and a good chunk of Dragon Ball. But he didn't exactly support the relationship between Goku and Chi-Chi because he had a different idea about where that part of the story should go. He thought Goku should get together with Bulma, but Toriyama decided to go in another direction. As for Naruto, we all know he spent most of the show pining over Sakura, who couldn't return his romantic affections because she was too hung up on Sasuke. If you were hoping they would get together, you're in good company, since Kishimoto's wife thought so too. Apparently, she was under the impression that they would end up together, and was furious when she found out Naruto chose Hinata instead. Kishimoto must not have heard the old adage, happy wife, happy life, because he dealt with some real-life marital conflict for the sake of this fictional romance. Over the course of their respective stories, we watched Goku and Naruto go from cute little kids to super-powered adults. But behind the scenes, the people who brought us the iconic voices we love so much are women. Junko Takeuchi provides the Japanese voiceover for Naruto, and if you're an anime fan, she might sound familiar. She voiced Gon in Hunter x Hunter as well as Mokuba Kaiba in Yu-Gi-Oh! According to Junko, she's enjoyed going on Naruto's journey along with him, although she thought he was a bit of a loudmouthed, obnoxious brat in the beginning. Hey, when you're right, you're right. Masako Nozawa is the voice actress behind not only Goku but all of his male relatives with the exception of Raditz. She's won 2 Guinness World Records due to the fact that she's voiced Goku in video games for over 20 years. Even though Naruto and Goku aren't quite as animalistic as they could have been, they do utilize animal forms in their fighting techniques. Back when Goku used to have a tail, he was able to transform into a great ape whenever he looked at the full moon. This made him a lot stronger, and was what allowed his people, the Saiyans, to triumph over the Tuffles of planet Vegeta. Well, before it was called that. This little trick did cost Grandpa Gohan his life and led to Master Roshi blowing up the moon in the World Martial Arts Tournament, but turning into a great ape is still a solid battle strategy if you have the option. Naruto's potentially dangerous animal transformation is possible because he's a Jinchuriki. He can harness the energy of the demon fox in order to give himself certain abilities to help him turn the tide in a fight. Even though he's not really a demon fox masquerading as a human, I'm pretty sure. He sure looks like one sometimes when he uses this technique. Both Naruto and Dragon Ball involve the main characters growing up and getting stronger, and they both had a little bit of help along the way. In fact, a couple of their mentors just so happened to have a lot in common. When Goku was a kid, he spent a ton of time training with Master Roshi. For a hermit, he sure had a lot of people living at Kame House for a while there. Now there's no doubt that Master Roshi knows his stuff. He's the one who taught Goku how to do his famous Kamehameha after all. But how do I put this delicately? He's a lecherous old creep. Seriously, I'm not even gonna talk about what poor Bulma had to do to get her hands on the 3-star Dragon Ball. I would say that Master Roshi is one of a kind, except for the fact that he's an awful lot like Jiraiya from Naruto. Jiraiya has the same passion for women as Master Roshi, and he's an incredible fighter too. And just like Master Roshi, he's also considered a hermit. Even though he's more of a frog guy than a turtle guy, it's easy to see how much these two characters have in common. Jiraiya grew up with his eventual enemy Orochimaru, and they spent a ton of time training together. It's similar to the relationship Master Roshi has with Master Shen, the Crane Hermit. These two characters have similar relationships with their parents, what with them being orphans and all. But their similarities go beyond simply having their parents pass away when they were too young to really remember them. Goku was born on planet Vegeta, and even though his origin story has been retconned quite a few times, there are some solid parts of the tale, namely that his dad Bardock figured out that Frieza was up to no good. I know, he must have been a brilliant Saiyan to decide that this guy wasn't on the up and up. Even though Bardock and his wife Gine knew it was possibly too late to save themselves, they wanted their son Goku to have a chance of survival, so they sent him off into outer space. No wonder Raditz was so cruel to Goku when they finally met. He was clearly resentful that Bardock and Gine liked him better. Naruto's parents were Minato and Kushina, and they made the ultimate sacrifice to save their son from the Nine-Tailed Fox. Although we met Naruto as an orphan, Minato and Kushina didn't show up in the story until much later on. According to Kishimoto, he didn't intend for them to be a part of the story at all, but changed his mind on that once he became a parent himself. We also had to wait quite some time to see Bardock and Gine, and they weren't incorporated into the story until a lot later on. There's no doubt that Goku and Naruto are heroes of their respective stories, but where would they be without their rivals? According to Kishimoto, the final confrontation between Naruto and Sasuke was one of the very first things he decided on at the very beginning of the series. He believed that having the two of them grow up and compete together would help inspire them to become stronger in order to outdo the other. Even though they didn't always get along, to put it mildly, there's no doubt that their lives were forever changed simply by knowing each other. Kishimoto claims that he wasn't sure if Sasuke and Naruto would meet on the battlefield as friends or enemies, but somewhere along the way they ended up in the frenemies category. Of course, we all know that Goku's right there too, along with his frenemy Vegeta. Goku's always been motivated to get stronger ever since he was a little kid, but he's definitely learned a lot through his relationship with this Saiyan prince. They might not exactly have a warm and fuzzy friendship, at least from Vegeta's perspective, but their rivalry has become an important part of their characters. I already talked about the fact that Goku and Naruto are orphans, but even with that in mind, their childhoods were still painfully isolated. Goku was lucky enough to have Grandpa Gohan take him in and raise him, even if their relationship ultimately wasn't very lucky for Grandpa Gohan. But the two of them lived far away from other people, which made things more than a little awkward when Goku started making friends and venturing off into the world. Naruto grew up surrounded by people, but because of his connection to the Nine Tails, he might as well have grown up in the mountains. It might actually have been less painful for him to be truly alone instead of just feeling that way. Thankfully, Iruka Umino stepped up to be kind to Naruto, even though our hero made it as difficult as possible. Even though one of them came from space and the other from planet Earth, these two had surprisingly similar childhoods. Being humanoid is pretty challenging, but I'm both grateful and surprised that Naruto and Goku didn't end up as foxes or monkeys. What do you think is the biggest similarity between these two? Let us know your pick in the comments section below and then click subscribe for more from CBR. We'll see you next time.